Way to go, Gina. High five. We've got Mr. Mike Wells in Gilbert, Arizona, who is fired up this morning. Steve, I can't wait to see you in Vegas as well. Chicago in the house, jacked out of my mind. I love it. I love it. We've got Lucy all the way from the UK. Lucy, thanks so much for tuning in this morning. It's always good to see you. Let's get it. We've got Mr. Thompson in the house. He's only a couple of miles down the road. Good to see you, my friend. Dennis, thanks so much for sharing your story this morning. I really appreciated it. And then we've got very excited here in Florida, Dennis out in Florida as well. Peggy, good morning from Panama City, Florida. And we've got New Brunswick in the house as well. So, hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in this morning. You know, I found out last night at about 11 o'clock that I was hosting this morning's training. So, which is great. I love impromptu trainings. You'll have to forgive me because I didn't have time to put together a PowerPoint presentation, but you guys know me. I'm most comfortable with my little whiteboard right here, right? So give me some markers and give me a whiteboard and I'm happy. So today we're going to be talking all about following up, right? They say that the fortune is in the follow-up. We've done a ton of training about, you know, how to move people through the process, how to get people to first base, you know, with the texting scripts, getting them in front of the 2-minute video, how to then follow up and get them to you know, one of our presentations and overviews, and allowing the presentation to do the work for you, allowing the presentation to do the explaining for you. Now we're going to talk about how do you follow up? What does that process look like? We're going to get into the psychology a little bit, and then I'm going to go through 6 or 7 key tips for you guys today. So with that, we're going to jump right in and get started here this morning. I want to thank everybody for being here once again. If you have team members that are not on here, you don't see them on here, as I'm going through this, I encourage you to pick up the phone and call them. Send them a text message and say, hey, there's a great training happening right now on following up. I'm on. Come hop on thediamondnetworklive.com, okay? So let's get these numbers up here because we need more people plugged into these team trainings. So with that, I want to start off by just talking a little bit about professionalism. Professionalism, right? One of the things that, you know, when I first got started in this business that I observed is there wasn't a lot of people that were treating this as a profession. Guys, this is a profession. This is a profession. What I saw were a lot of people that were dabbling, a lot of people that were, excuse the term, amateurs. They didn't take their business seriously, and they just kind of played around with it. And so one of the first things that I did, I wanted to stand out from the crowd. I wanted to separate myself from everybody else. Is I started treating it like a profession. And because I was only 30 years old, not even that, 28 years old when I got into this industry, it was hard. I didn't have a lot of people that were taking me serious. And so I had to change and back then, you know, you guys think that the pyramid scheme, you know, comments and perspectives that are out there today are bad. 12 years ago, they were quite different. And so what I had to do is I had to, you know, I started putting on suits everywhere that I would go when I would go have these meetings with my prospects. And the reason why I would do that is because I wanted people to know that I took my business seriously. And how does that relate to following up? Well, one thing that you need to remember is you are a business owner. You're a business owner. You are a professional. And even if you don't feel like a professional, you are. You're a business owner. Now, you may look at yourself and say, well, man, I'm just a network marketer. But you own a business. I want to make sure that you guys understand that. You own a business. And here's the thing about that. A few years ago, Summer and I, we've done this twice now. We've sold 2 of our network marketing businesses in the last 5 years, 6 years. We've sold 2 of our network marketing businesses. So I tell you that if it wasn't a business, could we have ever sold that business? No, of course not, right? What you have to understand, you guys, is this is an actual asset. This business is an asset. And in most companies, you're able to sell it as an asset, or you can will it, or things of that nature. So I want you to start thinking like a professional. And I want you to think about, what if you were a partner in a $100 million law firm? And if somebody inquired about utilizing your personal services as an attorney, or, you know, they were interested in your business, would you say things like, oh, hey man, I'll reach out to you in the next few days? No, you wouldn't. You know what you would say? You'd say, listen, you know what? I'm really busy, but I believe that I can squeeze you in, or I can fit you in on Wednesday at 2:15. will you be by your phone at that time? Right? So it's all about perspective. It's all about mindset. A lot of people ask me, Travis, how are you able to, get to the levels of or hit some of the ranks that you've hit so early on in the process? Guys, I treat this like a business. I treat this just like any other business that if I were to go invest millions of dollars in, I have the same mentality, that same mindset. If I were to go invest in a McDonald's, if I were looking at that right now as an investment, I'd probably be looking at a minimum of $1.5 million to put into that business. I'd have to sign the credibility. I'd have to then put a tremendous amount of time and effort and energy into that business. I'd have to go out and hire a ton of people. I'd have to go to Hamburger University, all of those things. And then, of course, it would probably take me somewhere in the neighborhood of a few years before I got my initial investment back. Well, guys, I look at this business model and I say, gosh, I can get started here for $1,349. And not only do I now own a willable, sellable, transferable business, but I have an opportunity here to get 100% of my investment back literally within the first couple of days or first couple of weeks that I've got started in the business. And I don't have to smell like hamburgers. I don't have to take that risk, that overhead. And I have created an income for my family that far exceeds that of a McDonald's franchisee owner. So again, guys, you have to take it serious. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. And when it comes to following up, you've got to understand that it's the same thing. So I want to start off with number one today. Number one on my list is the follow-up always begins during the invitation process, right? The follow-up begins during the invitation process. Now, what do I mean by that? So you guys have seen my scripts before. In fact, I'm going to pull up just a couple of my scripts here real quickly, and I'm going to share them with you so that you can see what I'm talking about here. So it's one thing if I wanted to, let's see here, recruiting, training, follow-up scripts. Okay, let me share my screen here real quickly. Good morning, Mr. Hood. Good to see you. All right. So let's take a look at these scripts for just a moment, guys. So let me just scroll down and let's look at number two. So when I'm following up with someone, right? So I'm following up after I have asked for permission to share a 2-minute video with them. I have a couple of options. I can say, okay, great. Here you go. Take a look at it. Let me know what you think. Or here you go. Take a look at this and I'll get in touch with you in a couple of days. Or here, just, I'm going to shoot you this 2-minute video. Let me know your thoughts. All of those conversations are open-ended, right? They're very passive. And what you have to understand about success in this business is success comes back to people that are active. They use active language, okay? So what do I mean by that? So if you notice, the conversation that I'm having here, I say, listen, I appreciate you, Richie. Check out the video at myhelodevice.com. Let me know if tonight or tomorrow would be better for me to follow up. I only need 2 to 3 minutes to ask you a few easy questions. So what I'm doing is I'm already assuming the sale. I'm already, I'm giving him a couple of options. Is tonight or tomorrow better? How many of you guys struggle with having to chase your prospects all the time? You're always, trying to get them back on the phone. This is one thing that you can do to be able to dial them in just a little bit. This is one thing that you can do. So even during the invitation process, you're already starting to, plan the next conversation. I never get off of a phone call before I know when we are going to be speaking again. That is $1 million tip. Do not ever get off of a call without knowing exactly when you're going to get off the phone call again. And so this is something that you have to understand when you're using your language, even when you're using your texting scripts. It's very important that you take the time just to go a little bit further, right? I could just say, hey, listen, you know what? If I sent you a 2-minute video, would you watch it? Let me know what you think. They say, yeah. I say, cool, great. Here you go. Boom. Let's connect in the next, couple days. Very passive language. Or I can send it to them and say, hey, listen, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Here you go. Let me know if tonight would be better or tomorrow morning would be better to give you a call. And you know what? When they respond and say tomorrow morning, I'm going to come back and say, great, what time works for you? I've got a very busy schedule. I want to make sure that I have time to connect with you. Taking that extra step, it makes all the difference in the world, you guys. It makes all the difference in the world. So I wanted to just show you that here real quickly. So that's first of all, that's number one that I wanted you guys to understand is that the fortune is always in the follow-up. Now, the next thing that I want you guys to understand is again, you need, and I talk about this all the time, right? You need to know your role. This is so important when it comes to following up, knowing your role. Okay? you've got to know what your objective is with every call. You've got to know exactly what your objective is. You've got to know what you're looking to accomplish with every single call. You have to have a very clear strategy in mind. And let me remind everyone, that strategy is not to try and call someone to convince them to join your business. I know that that sounds totally crazy, because I know that every one of you are thinking, well, that's what I want. I want people to join my business. I want people to buy my product. That's the end result of the process. Remember, it's the process that builds the value, and dollars always follow value. So you have to know your role. We talk about this over and over and over again. This is perhaps the most important thing, the most important skill that you could learn as a network marketing professional, is that your objective is to simply move people to the next exposure. Guys, that's it. That's your only objective. It is just to get them to move, one base to the next, to the next. So every time that I call, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm moving them to first base, 2-minute video. Okay, now I'm moving them to second base. I'm moving them to the presentation. Now I'm moving them to third base. I'm moving them to a 3-way call. I always know where I'm at in the process, and I'm continually focused on moving them from one exposure to the next, until eventually they can give me a well-informed decision. And that is the ultimate goal of every network marketing professional. If you've done your job, you've brought them to the point where they're making a decision not based on what they perceive is the facts, or they perceive this opportunity is, but they're making a decision based on the facts. And so you've got to get real clear on this process, because once you know your role, when I follow up, I know my objective. If I know that my objective is just to get this person to the presentation, then I know exactly what I have to do. I need to go right into, my script that what did you like? Did you watch that presentation? What did you like best? Hey, listen, are you making more money than you can spend? No, ha, ha, ha. Well, listen, are you open to making more money? Yes, great. I go right into that script with the ultimate objective to just get them to the next base, right? So you have to understand. Now, I want to give you guys some statistics here. I want to share these statistics with you, because this is crazy. In fact, I'm going to share the screen as well. Give me a second here. One of the ways that you can separate yourself from everybody else in network marketing is just to be a professional. Just follow up. Take a look at these statistics for a moment. So 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. Think about that. So that means that 1 in 2 people that put people in front of a 2-minute video, or 1 in 2 people that talk to somebody that they meet, maybe a restaurant or something like that, never follow up with their prospect. So we talk about standing out from the crowd. What's one of the best ways to stand out? Just be a professional. Just follow up, right? Another thing, 25% of salespeople make a second contact and then they stop. Think about that. They make a second contact and they stop. So maybe they follow up, they try and get them to a presentation, or maybe they get them to the presentation and that's the only interaction that they have. And then they hope that that prospect's going to call them and sign up into their business. Only 12% of salespeople only make 3 contacts and stop. And get this, 2% of sales are made on the first contact. Very rarely, just so you guys know, very rarely will you call someone and they say, hey, I'm ready to sign up, put me into the business. It does not happen in this business. It's the reason why we created the baseball diamond. It's the reason why we've given you so many exposures. I mean, if you think about the different exposures that we've created, we've given you the ability to be able to utilize a 2-minute video, right? That's a fantastic exposure. Why? Because people are more willing to agree to do something small before they agree to do something much bigger, right? We've given you an opportunity with our presentations that we do every single night of the week to be able to put somebody in front of an overview and let the overview do the talking for you. 3-way calls are a fantastic edification tool. Why? Because it brings in third-party credibility. It brings somebody else in that can validate the opportunity. It also brings somebody else in that can edify you through the process, right? We also have created Crunch the Numbers webinars. Crunch the Numbers webinars, where we actually show your prospect how they can get their initial investment back within the first 30 days. In my opinion, this Crunch the Numbers webinar is probably the most effective closing tool that you can use after somebody's been through the process, if they have not already told you that they're ready to get started. Okay, so we've created these different resources for you. Your objective, I look at this like we are master craftsmen. If I were a master craftsman, I'd probably have a toolbox. And inside that toolbox, I'd probably have a tremendous amount of, or a lot of different tools that are available to me, depending on the circumstance, depending on the situation. Doesn't that make sense? So we have created these different exposures for you to be able to utilize to move them from one exposure to the next. So you've got to know what exposures you have. You've got to know your role through the process. Now, going back to that slide for just a moment, one of the most interesting statistics that I found was, 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. 80% of sales are made from the 5th to the 12th contact. I was just on a 3-way call just a few minutes ago. Kathy put me on a 3-way call this morning. It was a fantastic 3-way call. And during that conversation, a number of different questions came up, and they were great questions. But it would have been foolish of me to try and close that person right on that call. Based on just how the conversation was going, I felt that we were developing a relationship. We were establishing trust. I was answering questions. And rather than trying to close him, especially knowing that we had been on the phone already for 30, 35 minutes, and knowing that he wasn't quite ready to make a well-informed decision, and knowing I had to get on this presentation, what I suggested is, hey, listen, let's do this. Let's circle back around first thing early in the week. Let's get on a Zoom where I can show you our system. I want to show you how I'm building this. I want to show you exactly what you would be doing so that because here's the thing, you guys, what you have to understand about following up is you can sell people till you're blue in the face about this helo. You can sell people about the benefits of the helo. You can sell people till you're blue in the face about the company. You can sell them about the comp plan. You can sell them on all of those things. But until your prospect says, I can see myself being successful in this environment, they're never going to join your business. Until they actually say, I could do that, they will never join you. So we spend so much time talking about the company, but we don't spend enough time talking about how we're building it. And that's something that one of the most powerful things that Terry Bullman is a gold director in our company. Terry Bullman, in a recent presentation that we did in Knoxville, Tennessee, stood up in front of the crowd and said, you know what? I build this business in the nooks and crannies of my life. I run a gym business. I have a special needs child. I'm busy as can be. But what I found is I still found that I was spending 15 to 20 minutes every day playing Candy Crush while I was waiting for my kids to come out of school every single day. So instead of playing Candy Crush, I started using that time to text a couple of 2-minute videos out to my friends. As a result of that, I started to get people in process, started to use the overviews and leverage the overviews to do the work for me. And then when they had questions, I would just put them on the phone with Travis, who's his upline. And now Terry has a business that's paying his mortgage payment. Think about that. So when Terry shared that was more valuable than anything that I could tell about the history of the company or all those things. And I'm not saying those things aren't important. You've got to validate the company. You've got to validate the vision. But when he shared that, the audience went, well, I could do that because, I've got some downtime when I'm sitting there waiting, baseball practice, at soccer practice, at gymnastics. That is what we need to be doing more of. We need to be connecting a little bit more with our prospects. And so for me, what I did at this prospect is I simply just said, listen, let's reconvene on Monday. And I want to show you how I'm building this. I want to show you our system because I want to show you exactly. And I never use the word easy. This business is not easy. It is simple. Our process is simple, but I have to make him connect the dots. And I also want to show him how he can get his initial investment back in a very short period of time, which is something that I'm going to show him on that next presentation as well. So again, just some things that I want you to think about. Now, real quickly, one of the questions that comes up often is what do you do when you have a no-show, when somebody doesn't show up on a presentation, somebody doesn't get on that overview? If I take the time to call Richie up and I text him and ask him to watch a 2-minute video and he says yes, and then he comes back and I follow up with him and we have a conversation and he agrees to get on the presentation and I follow up and he doesn't do it. One of the things that I love to do is I love to follow up with them the next day and totally take them off guard. So one of the things that I do is I'll just say, listen, Richie, I want to apologize that I didn't do a better job of explaining what is happening right now. I want to apologize to you because literally we had over 200 people that were on that overview last night and things are going absolutely crazy. I don't even have time right now, Richie, to give you all the details. But would it be okay if I circled back around with you maybe early next week, the next time that we're going to be having one of those overviews? I love that follow-up because Richie's going, there's nothing. Here's the thing. When you take something away from someone, it makes it more desirable. And so I've used that over and over again, and I love it. And I'm going to say that again. So if somebody didn't get on the presentation, they didn't do what I asked them to do, I get them on a phone, and I just say, listen, Richie, I want to apologize that I didn't do a better job of explaining what was happening last night, because we literally had over 200 people just on that call last night. And I have to tell you, things are going absolutely crazy right now. I don't have any time today or even tomorrow to fill you in, but would it be okay if I circle back around with you in the next few days or even early next week and get you on the next one that we're hosting? And you know what? Like clockwork, they're always like, yeah, absolutely. I've even had people text me within 24 hours because I dropped that little mind bomb, and they're texting me going, okay, so what is this thing, dude? You got to tell me a little bit more about it, right? So again, it's all about just, creating a sense of urgency. I always say, without a sense of urgency, all value is lost. So again, remember that it's going to take you several exposures. Minimum of 4 to 5 exposures is typically about right. That's why we've got the 2-minute video again, this second base, third base, and usually somewhere right around here, 3, 4, 5 exposures, they're going to be ready to make a decision. Now, let's talk a little bit about the script when you follow up with someone. So after they've been to the overview, I'm going to share my script. Now, here's the thing. First of all, one of the things that attracts people to your cause, and in my opinion, probably one of the most important things, is confidence, right? Confidence, knowing where you're going, the confidence that you're going to be successful. When you are confident, and I can say to someone, listen, the people that choose to lock arms with me right now at the beginning stages are going to benefit tremendously from my future efforts. That's a powerful statement. Because the person on the other end of the line, I'm conveying my certainty. And one of the things that we look for the most in leadership is we look for certainty. We look for confidence. I want you to think about, if you were going into battle, would you follow somebody who was uncertain? Would you risk your life for somebody who was uncertain and didn't know where they were going? Of course you wouldn't, right? So again, it's all about that certainty. It's all about having a clear picture and a very clear vision of where you are going. Because when you can clearly describe what that looks like, what that feels like, and how certain you are that you're going to achieve that, I promise you that other people are going to want to be a part of that as well. So when I follow up with people, the things that I start off by asking, I always just start off by asking, did you watch it, right? Were you on last night? However you want to ask. I just want to know, were they on the overview last night? Did you get a chance to see the presentation last night? Did you watch the overview? Did you get a chance to watch the 2-minute video? I just need to know if they've watched it right up front. And as soon as I get a yes, now if they say no, all I do is I redirect them back to the next presentation. So if they haven't had a chance to watch it, that's when I would say, listen, man, I got to apologize to you. I must have not, I apologize. I didn't do a good enough job of really explaining what was happening. We had over 200 people on last night. This thing is going crazy right now. I don't have time today to give you all the details, but listen, we're going to have another one of these calls here in a couple of days. If I circle back around with you, would you be able to tune in, or would you like me to follow back up with you? Right? So I redirect them to the next overview. But if they've seen it, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question that takes their temperature. So my question is, there's 2 questions that you can use. How do you see yourself fitting into the equation? So how do you see yourself fitting in? How do you see yourself fitting into the equation? And number 2, what did you like best? What did you like best? Okay, these questions are great questions because what they're going to do is they're going to allow you to take their temperature, and they're going to tell you where they're at in the process. So I want you to think about what we've done up to this point, okay? So first of all, number 1, all I've done is I've texted a friend or a family member or a colleague, and I've just done something along the lines of, hey, listen, have you heard of the Helo before? They say no. Hey, listen, if I sent you a 2-minute video, would you be willing to take a look at it and give me 2 to 3 minutes of your time to ask you a couple of simple and easy questions? Yes, great. Here's the 2-minute video. Let me know if tonight or tomorrow would be a good time or a better time to follow up. Okay, so that's step number 1. Step number 2 is now I followed up, and I just followed the simple script. hey, listen, what did you like best, right? There's your take your temperature question. Number 2, hey, listen, first of all, did you watch it? Yes. Number 2 is, what did you like best? Number 3 is, hey, listen, are you making more money than you can spend right now? Ha, 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 no. Are you open to making more money? Yes, great. Here's why. And I invite them to the presentation, right? So that's what I've done so far. So now I'm following up, and I just ask them, hey, listen, did you get a chance to watch the presentation last night? Yes, great. Let me ask you, how do you see yourself fitting into the equation? It's such a strong question, because here's what they're going to do. They're going to go, well, I have some questions. But you see, behind those questions is now sincere interest, because you got to remember, most people are approaching people up front. They're saying way too much. As a result, they're being met with objection. They're being met with that. I always talk about those fists up, right? Everybody's guarded. So they're getting shallow answers. They're getting, oh, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I've tried this before. It doesn't work. But because we've taken them through the process and slowly we've brought their guard down, and now they've watched the overview, now they have questions. And those questions are things like, well, I need to understand a little bit more about how the compensation plan works, or I have some questions about how the product works. Or they might even say to you, I'm not interested in the business, but man, I really want one of those devices for myself or for my mom or for my dad. And that's okay. We love customers. There's nothing wrong with that. You see, our job is to put them in front of the right information so that they can make a well-informed decision on how they fit into the equation. So the best thing that you can do is just say, listen, how do you see yourself fitting into the equation? Now, if they have questions, what's the best way to address those questions? Is the best way for you just to go ahead and just start rattling off the answer to those questions? No, it's not. And I know that many of you guys know the answers and you want to get right to it. You want to answer their questions so that you can bring them into the business. But by doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice for a couple of reasons. Okay, so first of all, what's the best thing to do? The best thing to do at this point, once you've asked that question, anytime that they ask you a question, the best thing that you can do is a 3-way call. It's a 3-way call with your upline or your upline leaders. Best thing that you can do, okay? Why? There's a couple of reasons why. So first of all, number 1, a 3-way call, what it does is it brings in third-party credibility. Okay, there's nothing more powerful than bringing somebody else into the equation that says, yeah, I've been doing this for a while and it works, right? It's been working for me. There's just nothing more powerful. Why? Because look, you have a close relationship in many cases with your prospects. It might be a friend of yours that you went out and hung out with last night. You guys might have went out and had a great time. Now it's hard to shift into business mode, right? So you bring somebody else into the equation. So that's number 1. Number 2 is when you bring somebody else in that validates the opportunity, it's a transfer of belief thing, right? You're telling them, hey, I'm excited about this business, but now you bring somebody else in who says, yeah, I'm excited about this and it works. It starts to create this fear of loss. Like, I don't want to miss out. Everybody else is doing this, right? So it gives you third-party credibility. And if it's done right and you edify if you edify your upline properly, which this has to be done properly. I get on calls all week long. And I would say probably 30% of those calls that I'm on, people miss the opportunity for edification. They go casual with their edification and they'll say something like, hey, this is my friend and my business partner, Travis Flaherty. He's been doing this business for the last 10 years. And you know what? I've invited him on to be able to answer any questions you have. Okay, that's one way to do it. Or you can say, hey, listen, even before the call starts, hey, look, and I'm going to show you how you get somebody to do a 3-way call in just a moment, but I want to make sure you understand the point of edification. So even before the call starts, you might just say, hey, listen, the person that I'm going to introduce you to, just so this individual has, he's been featured in 2 #1 bestsellers. He's been featured on, in multiple publications. He's earned millions of dollars in this industry. I know that he is super busy, but he's carved out 15, 20 minutes today because he wants to meet you. We were talking a little bit about you, and he is excited to say hello to you and just share a little bit of a story and answer any questions you have. Now, that's even before we get on a phone call. Now, why is that done? And it doesn't, again, don't pay attention to the credentials, because the credentials can change. You can certainly mix that up, and I'll give you an example of that in a moment. But my point is I just made my prospect feel very important about the fact that this person who is extremely successful and extremely busy wants to meet them, right? It builds the value in that call, so you're less likely to have people show up. But what I also do is I put my 3-way, my upline in a position of posture. I put them in a position of posture. I'm giving them credibility. That way, when my prospect shows up, they know that this person is credible, and what they say, they're going to trust it. Why? Because they trust you. So if they trust you and you edify your upline, you're putting them in a position of respect. You're putting them in a position of credibility. So when you introduce, first of all, make sure that you do your work before the call even starts. Now, if it's not me, I might just say, listen, the person I'm going to introduce you to has an amazing story. You know what? Their business is on fire here right now. You know what? They're on the phone all the time. They're movers and shakers. You know what? I was able to carve out 15 minutes this afternoon where they want to say hi. They're available to say hi. I told them a little bit about you and your background, and they're excited to meet you. Again, they've been doing the business a lot longer than I have. You know what? They're an expert. They know all of the facts. And you know what? They're excited to meet you. Again, that works fine. You're putting them in a position of posture, right? So the three-way call, you've got to make sure that you're doing the right edification. And then when I get on that call, I'm going to make sure that whenever I do a three-way call with someone, just so you know, whenever you do a three-way call and you request a three-way call from your upline, it's your responsibility to make sure that you get their background or the way that they would like to be edified. Okay, this is not about ego, guys. This is about credibility. It's about posture. You're putting them in a position to best help you. And, as I see sometimes when I do three-way calls with someone a lot, they tend to start casualizing a little bit the three-way call, and you can't do that. It's so important. So make sure that you get with your upline. Another thing, when you're introducing your upline, don't read. You got to get comfortable with it enough where you can don't at least sound like you're reading. You might be reading bullet points, but there's one, when you read, it's the same tone, and it's there's the same rhythm. You can tell when someone's reading. And it's a very uncomfortable thing. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice that introduction, and I want you to practice pausing occasionally. I want you to practice your voice and fluctuations so that it sounds like you're, like when I'm talking to you guys, it doesn't sound like I'm reading. We're having dialogue. Sometimes I get a little bit of excited and start talking a little bit faster. Mentor once told me, look, if you want to excite somebody on the other end of the phone or on the other end of the presentation, just start talking a little bit faster. And you know what? Start talking a little bit louder. And you know what? They're going to feel your energy. They're going to feel your excitement. Right? So you need to get, and I'm not saying don't sound crazy when you're introducing somebody, but what I am saying is this: make sure that you don't sound like you're reading it. Make it sound like a casual conversation in the process. Okay. So make sure that you do the edification. Make sure you do the three-way call, and your three-way caller comes onto the line. And here's the best part. What they're going to do is they're going to field any questions that they have. So they're going to field their questions, and a good three-way caller will often field those questions with examples. So if somebody talks to me and they say, in the past, I've been involved in a business, and in that business, I didn't have results. I didn't have a lot of success. I didn't have a lot of success past I brought a few people in, but nobody was able to build the business, right? I know right away there's an objection there. So I make note of that while I'm listening, so that when I come back around, I'm going to say, listen, I totally understand how you feel. I've been involved in businesses in the past where it was built all on hype and there was no substance. So we could get people into the business, but we couldn't keep them in and move them along in the process. What I have found is that the key to duplication is the system, the simple system. So what I would love to do is I would love to take you through our system and show you exactly how we build the business. In fact, this is exactly the conversation I just had this morning. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to instill confidence in the system and help overcome that objection. So I'll tell stories of let me tell you how I've been building the business. Right now, a good three-way caller will listen, hear the objection, and then share their own personal examples or other people's examples to overcome those objections. So a good three-way caller is going to field those questions, and then they're going to finish by edifying you. Right? They're going to finish by edifying you. So I'm going to say, listen, you're very fortunate that you heard about this from Richie. Let me tell you why. Richie has one of the fastest growing businesses in my organization. I love that Richie also works this full time. Now, Richie's very humble. He's not going to tell you this, but Richie, after 3 months here, actually sold his business, and he went full time in his 4th month here in World Global Network. He's a diamond in the company, and you know what? You couldn't have selected a better mentor. And I got to tell you that, from a timing standpoint, it's important that you lock down a position with him because his organization's growing. And if you secure that next available position, you're going to benefit from all of the future sales in that organization from this point forward. Okay. So what did I do as the upline? I re-edified that person. So I returned that edification. They call it the edification circle. And this is so critical that you understand this, you guys. This right here is, I didn't used to do three-way calls because I was a sales guy and I could bring people in and I could close them myself. The problem with that is it will never duplicate. And I have a lot of people in my group, a lot of frontliners that are in my group. They don't do three-way calls. They think they're a leader. They've been in the business for a while. They're experienced. They don't think they need to do the three-way calls anymore. The problem with that is what they're doing is they're teaching their new people coming in not to do three-way calls. And as a result of that, they never teach their people even how to get somebody on a three-way call. And so they try to do the same thing and it doesn't work and it doesn't duplicate. I did this for years. I had to submit to the system. I had to finally just say, you know what? I got to stop shortcutting the system. I got to stop just doing bits and pieces of the system and doing it my way. This isn't McDonald's, you guys. You can't have it your way. Is that right? Is it McDonald's? I think it's McDonald's. You can have it your way. You gotta figure out, you gotta understand that there's a reason and rhyme to everything that we do. And one of the trainings that I've done, if you haven't seen this before, you can go find it on my YouTube page. Just go to Travis Flaherty on YouTube. It's called The Little Things Make the Big Differences. It's the little things that lead to the big businesses that make all the big difference. And Don's saying I had that problem. We all did, Don. I did too. You pick and choose what parts of the system that you want to use. The problem is it's kind of like when you do that, you're getting bits and pieces and it's not going to work. You're going to get stuck and you're not going to get the results that you want. I love that. We need tasers just to make people follow the system. That would be hilarious. I love that. Richie, you get tased if you don't say it the right way. That's what we need. We all need tasers. I love that. So again, trust the system. Guys, I want you to know this. I spent probably 3 years not following the system. And I was a great recruiter. I could bring tons of people into the business. Nobody duplicated. I did this over and over. I had to rebuild my business like 5 or 6 times before I finally figured it out that I was not duplicatable. We created this system because I want you to think about the brand new person that just came into the business. Hi, my little boy just woke up, so he's waving at me. I want you to think about the duplication factor here, okay? So all we've done is we've taken a brand new person. Now, this brand new person doesn't know any of the lingo, the language, doesn't know anything about the technology of the product yet. But what do we do with that new person? All we did is we took that new person and had them send some text messages out. Anybody can do that. They don't have to know anything about the company to send some text messages out. Then they followed up and they basically read a script. Anybody can do that. You just get familiar with the script, put them to a presentation, let the presentation do all the work, and then you follow up, and when they have questions, you just say, hey, let me introduce you to this guy. Guys, that's the most simple system on the planet. That's what duplicates. That's what creates the massive success in this business. So this three-way call, in my opinion, is probably the most valuable component to building your business. And you don't have to be an expert. Just all you need is, it doesn't matter if yes, in theory, you want to use your upline or your upline diamond first. As you continue, you get more influential people, you can continue to go, get your diamond involved and then have them go up and get their upline president involved and so forth. But here's the thing. I could do three-way calls with my downline, my sideline, my friend. The key is just bringing somebody else into the equation. That's it. It's just bringing a third party into the equation that knows a little bit more than you do that can field some questions. And even if you know the answers, you still need to use the three-way call because it instills confidence in your prospect. Because what you're saying to your prospect, I'm going to bring this full circle for you. Do you guys remember in the beginning when I said that your prospect has to be able to say, I see myself being successful in this environment? They have to say that to join your business, right? Well, think about this. Your prospect, when they see you follow the system the right way and do exactly what we did, text, presentation, three-way call, your prospect goes, I could do that. I could totally do that. So that when I'm your three-way caller, when I'm your upline and you put me on the phone with a prospect and Richie Hood says, man, Travis, this all sounds great, but I'm just not very good at sales. I don't see myself being, I could never do what you do. How many of you have gotten that objection before? I could never do what you do. You know what, Richie, I totally understand how you feel, but let me ask you a couple of questions. How did Lucy get you in front of or how did you hear about this? How did Lucy first reach out to you? Well, she sent me a text about a 2-minute video. Okay, so Richie, could you do that with your friends? Well, yeah, I could do that. Okay, then what happened? Well, Lucy followed up and asked me 4 questions and invited me to listen to a presentation. Okay, so could you do that? Well, yeah, I could do that. Okay, then what happened? Well, she followed up and she introduced me to you. Okay, so when your prospects have questions, could you introduce them to Lucy? Yeah, I could do that. Great. You can build a massive business here, Richie, because that's all it takes to be successful in network marketing. Do you guys see how it all comes together? Like, give me a high five. I want to know that I'm connecting here. I want to know that you guys are seeing this. Give me a high five. Give me an explosion bomb. Give me something if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here, because this is so critical. I'm going to close here in just a moment with the actual close now. I'm going to give you the close in just a second. Okay. So we got some good. So we got some people that are picking up what I'm putting down here. All right. So let's keep going. And so let's go with the close. And then I'm going to give you a couple of don't do's to finish up the presentation. Okay. So the close. So for me, when I close, there's nothing more powerful than a sense of urgency, right? There's a sense of urgency to everything that I do, okay? There's a sense of urgency to everything that I do. You know, when I get on a phone call and I start the phone call, I always start, hey, I'm talking a little bit faster. Hey, listen, Richie, I'm glad that I caught you. I've only got a quick second. What does that mean? I'm busy. Things are going on. It's exciting. Things are hopping right now, right? There's always a sense of urgency to everything that I do, okay? So sense of urgency, you know, without a sense of urgency, all value is lost. You know, if I just say, hey, I'll get back to you in a couple of days, there's no value there. If I say, listen, I need you to watch this right away and let's connect either tonight or in the morning, it tells you that this is important, that this is valuable, okay? So without a sense of urgency, all value is lost. So when I follow up, and after I've gone through the process and their questions are answered, here's what I do. You know, what I tell people is, listen, just launching my business, and I've got 10 key positions that I'm going to fill by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Now, don't pay attention to the numbers. Just pay attention to the theory here, okay? So, first of all, my goals may be different than your goals. My goal was I wanted to fill my top 10 positions right away, okay? So what did I do? You guys have seen this training before. I made a list. I had 187 people on my initial list. That eventually grew to over 400, narrowed it down to 50. Those top 50 is where I started. Those top 50 was how I was going to get my 10. Out of those top 50, 41 of them said that they'd watch the 2-minute presentation. Out of that, 30 of those said that they would watch the overview. And out of that, I had almost, I think it was 19 people joined my business were my numbers, okay? But how did I do that? How did I get that type of conversion? Well, first of all, I became a master at moving them through the funnel. I became a master at building value to get these 50 people to watch that presentation. It's the art of language, right? I used those texting scripts that we've provided you. Then I became a master at following up and building urgency. Richie, listen, I'm glad that I caught you. I've only got a quick second. Things are exploding right now. Listen, did you watch that 2-minute video? Yeah, great. What did you like best? Yeah, me too. Listen, let me ask you another question. Are you making more money than you can spend? No? Listen, I'm not either. Let me ask you another question. Are you open to making more money? Yeah, good, because I am too. Listen, the reason why I ask is because of this. There's a very important business meeting that's happening tomorrow night. And you know what? I've invited a few of my friends and colleagues that I trust and respect to listen in. And give me their feedback. Richie, it doesn't matter to me if you choose to get involved or not, but it does matter you take a look. The last thing I want is for you to come back a year from now and say, why in the world didn't you tell me about this? So listen, Richie, if I give you those details, would you be willing to listen in? Let me know what you think. Okay, great. So I got 30 people there. Now I followed up with those 30 people, and we had a conversation. If they had questions, connected them to a 3-way call, make sure their questions are answered. Now here's my close. Hey, listen, Richie, I've got 10 positions that I'm filling in the next 48 hours by 3 p.m. tomorrow, whatever it is, pick a deadline. I've got 50 people that I'm going to be calling in the next 48 hours. You're at the top of that list. I've only got 10 positions. To have your name on that position, it's $1,349. Listen, the reason why this is so beneficial is because these top 10 positions are going to benefit from all of the future sales of everything that happens in my organization. Now, here's the questions that I ask, okay? I ask some questions. Remember, questions are always the answers. Question number 1, hey, Richie, you heard of Fitbit before? Have you heard of Fitbit, okay? Right? Write that down. Have you heard of Fitbit? Yes, I've heard of Fitbit before, okay? Cool. Question number 2. Listen, Fitbit sold 20 million devices last year. Can you believe that? 20 million devices last year. They're worth $7 billion. Okay? $7 billion. Now, Richie, Fitbit started 7 years ago. And if we had the opportunity to turn back the hands of time, and you could have gotten involved with Fitbit, and they were going to pay you a percentage of every single device that was sold from that point forward, would you have said yes? Right? So 7 years ago, you turn back, if we could turn back the hands of time, and you knew that you could have gotten involved and they were going to pay you a percentage on every single device that was sold, would you have done it, yes or no? Yeah? Okay, well, great. Well, listen, the reason why I ask is because over the next 1 to 2 years, we're projected to sell 15 million devices, which is $3 billion in revenue. And our company is just launching in 2 weeks. So the people that choose to lock arms with me now are going to benefit tremendously from everything that happens from this point forward. Now, Richie, it doesn't matter to me if you choose to get involved or not. But listen, I need an answer. Tell me yes, tell me no, tell me fast, because I got to go. I got 50 other people that I'm going to be talking to this afternoon, and I promise you these spots will be filled by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Guys, that is urgency. That is posture. That is value. You don't have to talk that fast. You can slow down a little bit. I know this. Oh, sorry. So let me, you can't see bottom of, okay, there you go. So this, I know my handwriting's horrible. So number one is Fitbit, right? Have you heard of Fitbit? Yes or no? And then I give them a little bit of information about Fitbit. You know, last year they sold 20 million devices. They're currently worth $7 billion. And then I just say, listen, if we could turn back the hands of time and you could have gotten involved with Fitbit at the beginning, and they were going to pay you a percentage on every single device from this point forward, would you have done it? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, great. Well, Richie, the reason why I ask is because over the next 1 to 2 years, our company is projected to sell 15 million devices. That's conservatively. And if you think we're kidding, we've already sold 1 million in the last 12 months during a soft launch sharing a 2-minute video. That puts us at a $3 billion company. Now, Richie, we haven't even opened our doors yet, just so you know. Our grand opening is in 2 weeks. So I've got 10 positions. Each position had your name on it. It's $1,349. When they're gone, they're gone. It's like oceanfront property. When they're gone, they're gone. And I'm going to fill those positions by 3 p.m. tomorrow. I've got 50 people that I'm going to be talking to. I've got over 200 people that are on my list I'm going to be talking to over the next couple of weeks. But I wanted to give my friends and family an opportunity to have one of these top positions. So, Richie, do you want one of these positions? Yes or no? Tell me fast. Tell me yes, tell me no, tell me fast, because I got to go. I got a ton of people I got to call today. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to partner with me. I wanted to give you a chance to be able to lock arms with me at the beginning stages, because I'm just telling you, Richie, the people that lock arms with me at the beginning stages are going to benefit tremendously from my future efforts, because everything that happens from this point forward in this organization is going to go below those people. I've only got 10 spots. Do you want one? Yes or no? Remember what we talked about up here? Sense of urgency, and I'll add one more thing to this, right? Sense of urgency and fear of loss. Those are the two most valuable things that you can utilize to launch your business and to create excitement and momentum into your business, okay? I'm going to close with this thought here. A couple of things that I don't want you to do, okay? Number one, don't be a flake. Don't be a flake, okay? Do you guys know any flaky people? Does anybody know any flaky people? Like, what causes some people to be labeled as a flake? I want to know, like, what do you think causes people to be labeled as a flake in your opinion? Richie, what? I'm going to unmute you. What do you think makes people? Oh, I just muted you again. What makes people flaky in your opinion?
Not following through on things they say they will do.
Yeah. Okay. Not doing things.
I've got a philosophy on that. In how you do anything is how you do everything. It's a common thread through your life.
I love that. How you do anything is how you do everything. Guys, write that down. That's great. So again, you're right. I agree with you, Richie. Thank you. I appreciate that. So what causes some people to get labeled flaky in my book? The number one factor for me is when people don't do what they say. That's it. So I want to be real for a moment, okay? I want to be real. I know it sounds crazy, but if you will simply do what you say you're going to do, you will set yourself apart from the masses in this business. I promise you. You will set yourself apart from 90% of the other people that are out there just by doing what you say you're going to do. So take your commitment seriously, no matter how big or small, and let your yes be yes and your no be no. But most people don't treat their follow-ups as a commitment. But instead, it's a, I'll do it when I have time activity. And I'm here to tell you guys, you're not going to get very far that way. Proper follow-ups have everything to do with setting expectations for your prospect and following through by doing what you say you're going to do with urgency. I'm going to say that again. Proper follow-up has everything to do with setting expectations for your prospect and following through by doing what you say with urgency. If you tell someone that you're going to call them back in an hour, set an alarm on your phone and call back 60 minutes later, not 61 minutes. Now, I'm guilty of this. I'm going to tell you guys this. I get on phone calls and I lose track of time because I'm on the phone with prospects all the time. I need to do better at this. It's hard sometimes when you're back to back to back, but you got to do the best you can. When you're prompt, people will notice it because it's not very common. And when people tell me that they're going to call at a certain time and they don't, it tells me a lot about that person and how they treat their commitments. And guys, I treasure my time. I value my time. And look, I only invest my time into people that are serious. I don't, listen, if there's somebody that's in and they're out, and I don't hear from them for weeks and then they come back around, like, I don't have time for that. They're going to have to earn my time and go out and prove to me they're serious before I'm going to open up times in my schedule for them. It's not rude. It's just, look, I've got thousands of people in my organization. I'm going to pick the 10, 20 people that are focused and committed and serious because I'm not going to invest my time in somebody who keeps starting and stopping and starting and topping. And you should do the same thing. You've got to value your time. So I appreciate when people honor my time, and I want to honor their time too. Okay, you can even say that when you answer the phone or listen to your voicemail, I'll often say to someone, "Hey, Richie, it's Travis. I'm calling to catch you at our set time because I want to honor your busy schedule." Right? People never hear that somebody wants to honor their time, and it goes a long way with your first impressions with new prospects, especially if it's cold market. So if I set an appointment with someone and I met in cold market and they don't pick up, I let them know to please call me back right away before my next appointment. And I tell them when the next appointment is. Listen, I've got about 30 minutes before my next appointment. This communicates to them that I'm a busy man, and if I don't hear back, I'm probably going to be calling again. And when you let them know that you'll be calling again, it sets an expectation in their mind that it doesn't necessarily let them off the hook. Right? Now, I always call at the scheduled time. If they don't answer, I leave a voicemail with my next follow-up time. It's usually within the same hour. Or my next appointment, excuse me. And then I call again at that time that I said I would. So I might say, "Hey, Richie, I'm sorry that I missed you. We had a scheduled appointment at this time. I'm going to try you back in 20 minutes." Right? So I call back 20 minutes later. And then if they don't answer, I'll usually call back again the next day and I let them know. Now I know it's tempting. To give it to them, right? I know it's tempting to be like, "Listen, we had an appointment yesterday. My time's extremely valuable and you didn't show up." And I know you want to do that sometimes. What I do is I typically just say, "Listen, I understand that something really important may have come up and I would like to reschedule with you." And if 2 days goes by without a response, I may call one more time, but this is more of a voicemail of concern. "Listen, I hope you're okay. Please let me know if there's anything that I can pray for you or your family, if you had a family emergency." And I also say, and if for some reason you're just not interested anymore, that's okay too. Just let me know from one professional to another. Right? Now I'm kind of calling them out a little bit, right? Either way, I want a response. And if you notice that I called them out as a professional, meaning if they don't call me back, it's unprofessional. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is drip, don't drown them. Okay? Drip, don't drown them. I want everyone to write that down and I want you to circle it. Drip, don't drown them. For example, if I'm moving people through this process and I have them, I've moved them through the process and they've now been on the overview. A lot of people get stuck after the overview. They don't know what to do because they didn't give them an answer. So here's what I do. I always use the next call or the next event as a special event. right? It's a very time sensitive, thing that I invite them to get involved with. So I'll let a couple of days pass, and then I'll say, hey, listen, just wanted to touch base with you. There's a presentation that's happening tonight, and let me tell you about the person that's hosting the presentation. Guys, you got to stop just advertising and putting posts up or links up about just a call. You've got to start promoting. A promoter does this. So I could put a flyer out that says, hey, the next call is at 10 o'clock, and Mike Sims is hosting the call. Okay, or I can say, listen, Richie, let me tell you a little bit about the guy that's hosting this call. He's 40 years old, and he's earned well over $10 million in this industry. He's got homes in Miami and Atlanta. He's traveling all over the world. This guy, I'm telling you, he's always dressed to the max. He's got an incredible story. And tonight, he's going to share exactly how he did it. Now, listen, it doesn't happen very often, but this is a special privilege to be listening to him tonight. And I wanted to reach out to you because I know that you've been on a few things in the past, but I'm telling you, you're going to want to hear what he has to say. Do you guys see how I use that next event, but I promote it properly, and I use that to drip on people. So I continually just keep moving people to the next thing, to the next exposure, to the next exposure. And I update them with new information. It gives me a reason to call them, and it gives me a reason to follow up consistently. And so I would encourage you to do that. So drip, don't drown them, okay? Number 3 is we've all heard the saying, it's not you, it's me, right? You guys remember like breakups. It's not you, it's me, Richie. It's not you at all. It's totally me. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I want you to understand this. Sometimes you just need to slash a name with a red Sharpie. Okay. You need to divorce your prospect and you need to move on. I have been guilty of this. We all get connected to that one person that would be just amazing if they would I got a couple of them I've personally sponsored. I hope they're listening right now. I've got some people I've personally sponsored. And Richie, it's not you, so you don't have to worry. I see you up there. I got people that I've sponsored. And I just know they would be amazing. Like I know I've seen bursts of just amazingness that they're in and out. They're not consistent with their business. And I say this for prospects and even sometimes team members. Sometimes you just have to move on. You can't fall in love with potential. You just can't. Sometimes you just have to, get out the red Sharpie and divorce your prospect and move on. Sometimes we get so emotionally attached to a prospect that it becomes our life mission to convince somebody to get in, right? Have you guys ever felt this way before? And depending on what leader you talk to, some might follow up with a prospect until they literally join or they die. Like, I'm going to continue to just until you join or you die, right? On the other hand, sometimes we wish that we could have not spent so much time, on the wrong people. And that's one of the best advice, one of the best things that I could share with you before we close is, sometimes I wish that I wouldn't have spent so much time on the wrong people. You got to invest into the right people. And what I have found is if you give yourself permission to cross out a name, it will actually force you to have more of an abundance mindset than a lack mindset because there is an abundance of people out there praying for a solution. There's people that are going to bed tonight praying for what we have to offer. Do you guys realize that? So it's kind of like this. If you've ever made a to-do list, doesn't it feel invigorating to complete a task and slash it off of your list? The same holds true when you let a prospect know this is the last time I'm going to be calling you, right? So again, if you've ever had a to-do list with your chores, it feels great to cross that name off the list. So the same holds true when you call a prospect up and you just say, listen, it's the last time I'm going to be calling. I'm going to leave the ball in your court. If I don't hear back from you, I wish you the very best. Sometimes you have to do that because when you do this, you empower yourself to be in control, not the prospect. And you have things to do and new people to meet. So remember that it's okay to move on. And your prospects, most likely, they did too already. They already moved on. You need to as well. And if the thought of scratching off a name scares you, take a moment to ask yourself why. Okay? Our experience has shown me that it's usually because of a lack mindset. And the distributor is afraid that they're going to run out of prospects. Look at all the leaders that you admire in World Global Network right now. Do you ever hear them mention that they have run out of people to talk to? No. That's because of two main things. They are confident that one of the 7 billion people on this planet are going to be their next recruit. And they have the cold marketing prospecting skills to generate leads on demand, just wherever they go. Somebody delivers the mail to the mail. My sparkle water guy the other day, my waiter in the restaurant. So don't worry about running out of contacts. There's 7 billion people on the planet, right? So anyways, guys, I really appreciate you tuning in this morning. You know what? I hope that you got something of value today, that something stood out to you. I want to ask everyone a favor. So don't go just yet. I want to ask everyone a favor. If you got value out of today's training, I want you to do me a couple of things. I want you to go over to our team pages, and I want you to leave a comment about this morning's training, what stood out to you. Number one, I want you to talk to the people that weren't on the training, and I want you to let them know what they missed. Number two, I want you to tag me on my personal page, and I want you to do the same thing. Why? Because we have 52 people on this training, guys. We should have 520. We've got to get the numbers up. We've all got to start promoting a little bit more and a little bit better. And I want to create that sense of urgency and importance of these presentations, and that can only be done by you guys. So I'm asking that of you if you got some value from today's training. So with that, I want to say thank you very much. Wish everybody a happy Saturday, and I want to remind you that we've got a Las Vegas convention coming up in 2 weekends, and it's still not too late to make the commitment to yourself, to your family, and to your business. So with that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this morning. You guys have an absolutely incredible day today. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye now.